Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wraps up a productive three-day visit to Indonesia, jointly launches the conservation project of the centuries-old Prambanan temple with President Subianto at Jakarta. Prime Minister Modi en route to Melbourne to hold bilateral talks with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Defence, trade and investment on the agenda. US President Donald Trump says Iran's ceasefire is over. As US launches new strikes on Iran, Tehran warns of decisive action. And Argentina keeps FIFA World Cup title defence hopes alive with a stellar 3-2 win over Egypt. Switzerland beat Colombia on penalties to book the quarterfinal berth. Prime Minister Narendra Modi began the third day of his Indonesia's three-day visit by visiting the iconic Prambanan temple in Jakarta city. En route to the temple complex, Prime Minister Modi was greeted by hundreds of local residents. As part of the ceremonial welcome, the Suryo Kensono Arts Association presented a classical Jakarta dance performance inspired by the characters of Ramayana. The performance highlighted the enduring cultural and civilizational links between India and Indonesia through one of the region's most cherished artistic traditions. Prime Minister Modi was accompanied by Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto at the venue. India and Indonesia unveiled a commemorative plaque marking the launch of a joint initiative for the conservation of the cultural heritage at the Prambanan temple complex, underscoring the two countries' shared commitment to preserving their rich civilizational legacy and deepening cultural cooperation. Addressing the gathering, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said his visit would further strengthen the long-standing friendship between India and Indonesia. Prime Minister described the culture as a bridge that connects societies, fosters mutual understanding and builds enduring trust between the two countries.
केदार धाम का पुनर्निर्माण हो, चाहे उज्जैन महाकाल का पुनर्निर्माण हो, या आज यहाँ पर आकर के करीब 1200 साल पुराना ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश इन यादों को साथ जुड़ी हुई एक हमारी सांस्कृतिक विरासत का पुनरुद्धार और उसका रिनोवेशन का काम, उसका प्रारंभ करने का सौभाग्य भी मुझे मिला। मैं अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा भाग्यशाली मानता हूं।
Prime Minister further expressed his gratitude to the people of Indonesia for preserving this shared heritage. He also thanked successive generations and those who had governed the country over the years for protecting and nurturing this rich cultural legacy.
यहाँ के जीवन में, यहाँ की बातों में, यहाँ की हवा में एक संस्कृति की खुशबू है। वो खुशबू जो हम भारत की धरती पर पल पल अनुभव करते हैं। ये खुशबू हमारी सांस्कृतिक विरासत भी अपने आप में अपनत्व से जोड़ती है। 1200 साल मैं यहाँ के लोगों का हृदय से धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि उन्होंने इतनी बड़ी विरासत को जिस प्रकार से संभाला है, जिस प्रकार से संवारा है और श्रद्धा भाव से किया है। इसलिए मैं इंडोनेशिया के नागरिकों का भी और अब तक रहे हुए सभी शासकों का भी मैं हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं।
On the occasion, President Prabowo Subianto expressed admiration for India's rich cultural heritage, saying the centuries-old temple stands as a testament to the enduring historical and civilizational ties between India and Indonesia.
प्राम्बानान मंदिर केवल इंडोनेशिया के इतिहास और संस्कृति की महानता का प्रतीक ही नहीं है, बल्कि ये इंडोनेशिया और भारत के बीच 1000 वर्ष से भी अधिक पुराने सभ्यता संबंधों की याद दिलाता है.
Indonesian President further expressed confidence that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit would further strengthen the friendship between the two countries, highlighting the significance of the Prambanan temple complex. He also referred to the intricate Ramayana carvings adorning the site as a symbol of the deep cultural connections shared by Indonesia and India.
Candi Prambanan bukan hanya
प्राम्बानान मंदिर सिर्फ एक ऐतिहासिक इमारत ही नहीं है, बल्कि ये ज्ञान आध्यात्म को भी प्रकट करते हैं. प्राम्बानान मंदिर बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है दोनों देशों इंडोनेशिया और भारत के लिए, क्योंकि इसमें रामायण की कहानी इसकी दीवारों पर उखरी गई है. मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि ये यात्रा इंडोनेशिया और भारत के लोगों के बीच मित्रता को और अधिक मजबूत करेगी.
India will assist in the conservation and restoration of the Prambanan temple in Jakarta, reaffirming the deep civilizational and cultural ties between India and Indonesia. Located near Jakarta on Indonesia's Java island, Prambanan is the country's largest Hindu temple complex, dating back to the 9th century AD. Built in the 9th century AD, the Prambanan temple was constructed using volcanic stone, a material abundantly available in Java. UNESCO has inscribed the Prambanan temple compound as a World Heritage Site, recognizing these temples as the finest expression of classical Shaivite art architecture in Indonesia. The temple complex was also designed as Indonesia's national cultural property in 1998. People were seen chanting Mahamrityunjaya mantra, a powerful ancient Hindu prayer dedicated to Lord Shiva. Chants of Om Namah Shivaya were also reverberating the temple complex when Prime Minister Modi made a visit to this iconic heritage site. Also earlier, Prime Minister Modi took an aerial tour of the majestic Prambanan temple. The aerial view offered a striking perspective of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, renowned for its towering architecture and intricate reliefs depicting the Ramayana epic, underscoring the deep civilizational and cultural links between India and Indonesia. With Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the Prambanan temple concluding, India and Indonesia have announced a joint conservation initiative reflecting the two countries' shared commitment to preserving this cultural heritage for future generations. DD India's Siddharth Bhardwaj spoke to the Additional Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India to learn more about the project.
India and Indonesia have announced a joint effort to conserve the Prambanan temple. What are the techniques that will be involved? To talk more on this, I have with me Mr. Janvit Sharma, who is the Additional Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. Let's talk to him. Sir, tell us about this project.
First of all, thank you very much for having us on board. As you've seen, Honorable Prime Minister has announced that India will take up the conservation work of Prambanan temple. This is indeed a very challenging task, but Archaeological Survey of India, with its over 150 years of experience, has done some very challenging works in the past also. In Southeast Asia, we're working in a number of countries, including Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar. And now we have been asked to take up the conservation work of Prambanan temple. Just to explain you here, right now what we are seeing, or where we are standing right now, is where you see the platforms here, and they are obviously completely in ruins. And the platforms are all around the temple, but this particular quadrant, which comprises about 56 of them, is something that we have taken up in the phase 1. And on the other side, if you can see, you see all the stones which are just lying like this. These are the stones which at some point in time must have been picked from here, and they were kept over there. So the biggest challenge for us would be in terms of identifying these stones, and these very stones to put back at the exact location they were they were fallen from, or they came from. And this is a technique which is an internationally accepted technique called anastylosis, using the original members, and we use only 10 to 15% of new stones. Otherwise, everything original, old, goes back to its original position. And as our Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned, that this is a project that we should, the phase 1 of which we should complete in 2029. So we will obviously bring our teams here, and with the assistance of local stone seekers, local officials, etc., is something that we will take up this very challenging work. And this will start with research, with documentation. We will also use the AI to do the reconstruction process, and once we have that information with us, then we will take up the actual physical work.
So here you heard about the techniques that will be used when it comes to the conservation of Prambanan temple, including a scientific technique called anastylosis, and artificial intelligence will also be used in the process. So it's not just about conserving an ancient monument, it's also about preserving a shared cultural legacy that continues to unite India and Indonesia. With camera person Ashish Sharma, this is Siddharth Bhardwaj reporting for DD India from Prambanan Temple Complex, Central Java, Indonesia.
And let's now connect with DD India's Siddharth Bhardwaj on the ground there. Siddharth, you are in Jakarta, where this temple stands. First of all, tell us, what is the condition of these small temples inside the Prambanan complex, and the fact that India has helped to restore them to their past glory?
Okay, hi Tanvi. Certainly I am inside the premises of the Prambanan temple complex, and as far as these small temples are concerned, there are about 240 temples in the entire premises. This temple complex is dedicated to the Hindu Trimurti of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So behind me is the Shiva temple, which is the tallest temple with height approximately about 47 meters. When you ask about the small temples here, they are, but because of volcanoes, because of earthquake and weathering, they are impacted to an extent. And as far as the joint conservation effort is concerned, you've just seen our report wherein the Additional Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India was saying that this project will take place in a phased manner. And there will be a technique called as anastylosis, which is an internationally accepted technique that will be used as far as the restoration of this temple is concerned. And only 15 to 20% of the new stones will be used. Otherwise, all the old stones which are there will be there in their original position. So it will be a challenging work, of course. And the Archaeological Survey of India is having expertise when it comes to handling these challenges, because they have done these work in Southeast Asia earlier as well, in Cambodia, in Laos, in Myanmar. So all these countries, they have taken up this restoration work, so they know with over 150 years of experience how to handle all these challenges. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that the work is expected to be completed before 2029, and he will definitely be here for the celebrations, as he said in the joint press statement. Behind me, Tanvi, is a Shiva temple, like I was telling you. It is the tallest temple, and on the first floor of the Shiva temple are the Ramayana carvings. We did a detailed story of that as well. So when you go to the first floor and take a left, the panel starts. So panel by panel, you see the story of Ramayana. It shows the cultural connect between India and Indonesia, which is not new. It is century-old cultural connection, but with the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a new chapter in the cultural cooperation between both the countries has written today. So all in all, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was built in the 9th century using the volcanic rocks, and that is what is attracting visitors from all across the world. People here come from different parts of the world to see this architectural marvel from this is the architecture from the ancient Javanese style, using volcanic rocks. And, imagine the kind of technology, imagine the kind of technique that is used in building these temples. Because that time in the 9th century, back then, there was no technology as such. So there was an interlocking system through which these temples were made. And there are several temples which got affected by the earthquake, weathering, volcanoes. So the restoration project will work on that, and it will be done using different techniques. Artificial intelligence is one thing which will also be used in the process. So it will be done in the phased manner, and as expected, it will be done before 2029, Tanvi.
Okay.
And this will certainly boost tourism from India as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Siddharth Bhardwaj, reporting from Jakarta in Indonesia. So yes, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Prambanan temple complex, a UNESCO World Heritage Site located in Jakarta today, a large number of members of the Indian community and the Indonesian citizens gathered along the streets to warmly welcome Prime Minister Modi during his visit to the temple. As we were telling you, built in the 9th century, the Prambanan temple is one of the grandest Hindu temple complexes in Southeast Asia and dedicated to Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma. The temple is regarded as a symbol of the centuries-old cultural and civilizational ties between India and Indonesia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route to Australia now after completing his 3-day visit to Indonesia as part of his 6-day visit aimed at strengthening India's strategic partnerships in the Indo-Pacific region. In a special gesture reflecting the warmth of bilateral ties, Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto came at the airport personally to see Prime Minister Narendra Modi off for his departure to Melbourne. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 3-day visit to Australia from the 8th to 10th of July. This will be his 3rd visit to Australia as Prime Minister. The visit is expected to give fresh momentum to the India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, strengthen defence cooperation and advance discussions on shared interests in the Indo-Pacific region. DD India's Amritpal Singh reports from Melbourne.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi shall be arriving here in Melbourne on Wednesday for a 3-day visit. This visit will be for attending the 3rd India-Australia Annual Summit. The two leaders, that's Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, shall be focusing on upgrading defence cooperation and also increasing cooperation in the 3 areas of energy, economy and education.
There will be some outcomes on the defence and security side. We will be looking at further strengthening our
trade and investment partnership. Since the signing of the Yatra, the trade agreement in 2022, bilateral trade has gone up beyond $50 billion. But the scope is much more.
Defense cooperation is expected to dominate the agenda, with major announcements in the area of defense, cooperation in critical minerals, cybersecurity and technology. Sports diplomacy will be an integral part of Prime Minister's visit to Melbourne here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
There will be some announcements on our bilateral sports cooperation. It will be called a sports cooperation roadmap, and it will be beyond cricket.
The Indian diaspora connection has emerged as a core pillar of India's foreign policy and cultural diplomacy. The Prime Minister understands the leverage very well. So during his international visits, it's not just closed-door meetings, but large stadium-sized community events.
We have a big diaspora event here in Melbourne, in one of our very iconic stadiums here called the Marble Arena.
Modi ji is coming. We all are very excited.
मेलबर्न में जो एनर्जी होगी इस बारी वो देखने वाली होगी.
We are looking forward to seeing him in person once they are here.
The expectations from this visit are very high, not just from deepening bilateral relationship, but also from the point of view of bringing peace and stability to the Indo-Pacific region. With cameraman Mohit Joshi, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Melbourne.
In a special interview to DD India's Amritpal Singh, India's High Commissioner to Australia, Nagesh Singh, highlighted the significance of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's forthcoming visit to Australia. India's High Commissioner to Australia said that apart from strengthening defence cooperation between the two countries, special emphasis is also being laid on expanding partnership in the energy sector.
After a successful visit to Indonesia, the Prime Minister now arrives here in Melbourne in a few hours from now for the third India-Australia annual summit. He will meet Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and discuss the entire gamut of bilateral relations. What is expected to transpire over the next 3 days? I have with me the Indian High Commissioner to Australia, Mr. Nagesh Singh. Ambassador Nagesh, thank you very much for speaking to us. Why is this visit of Prime Minister Modi significant?
This is a very important relationship between India and Australia. As you know, this is the third annual Leaders Summit between India and Australia, which in itself is an indicator because we don't have many such countries with whom we have these annual Leaders Summit. Prime Minister Modi's visit is a manifestation of the significance we attach to our bilateral relationship with Australia. This is a relationship based on shared values of democracy, pluralism. We are both multi-ethnic, multicultural societies. But more importantly, in today's times, when you know how the geopolitics is a bit going through some turbulence, traditional friendships are under strain. India and Australia relationship provides us with a very stable foundation in a region which we share, which we call the Indo-Pacific. So we are connected to each other not through just geography, the Indian Ocean Indo-Pacific region, but also, our shared objectives and convergences on, peace, stability in this region, a free and open, inclusive Indo-Pacific. That brings us together. And the fact that the leaders are meeting in this annual summit reflects the fact how important this relationship is for both sides. They will review the comprehensive strategic partnership between our two countries.
Ambassador, if we look at the comprehensive strategic partnership, there are many elements to it. You say it's a multifaceted relationship: defense, education, energy, economy, trade, investment. So what would be the focus on this time during the talks?
We are dealing with multiple issues which are of mutual interest and benefit for our peoples and our two countries. Defense and security, of course, in today's times when there are various challenges, traditional and non-traditional, which have come up in terms of security, international security and peace. So there will be some outcomes on the defense and security side. We will be looking at further strengthening our trade and investment partnership. Since the signing of the Yatra, the trade agreement in 2022, bilateral trade has gone up beyond $50 billion. But the scope is much more. It's quite underwhelming if you ask me, because given the size, dynamism and the potential of our two economies, that trade should be higher. Similarly, investment figures, foreign direct investment from Australia into Indian economy, which is booming at this point in time, is not to the level it should be. So that's another area we'll be looking at.
So, but if we talk about specific areas in both trade and investment, what are the key sectors that the two sides are looking at expanding this relationship, this cooperation?
So, the mantra these days, as Australia is a natural resources powerhouse. They are the most richly endowed country in terms of natural resources, whether iron ore, coal, critical minerals, which is now the mantra everyone's talking about. So we'll be looking at those areas of how, we can work together, given our size and scale in terms of manufacturing and our capacity to upscale production. Australia's natural endowment with natural resources of every kind, whether it's gas, whether it's, coal, etc., even the critical minerals aspect, how to strengthen that partnership, that would be one. We would also be looking at how to, Australia has a big superannuation fund culture. That there are these, by some estimates, it's about $3 to $4 trillion, and we'd like them to invest in the Indian economy, the Australian supers as they are called. Similarly, how to facilitate greater mobility in terms of skilled manpower, which we are very rich in. So those are the kind of discussions which will happen, and there'll be some outcomes on the people-to-people connect in terms of education, skilling, research.
Education, could we see larger cooperation between advanced learning institutes and universities of India and Australia? Is there much scope for that?
Oh, there's a lot of scope. Like as you're aware that, Australian universities have been the first ones to start setting up campuses in India. I think 6 or 7 have already set up, or they've got approvals to set up, or they're in the process of setting up. There'll be a couple of announcements here of setting up new campuses in India to provide high quality Australian education to Indian students at affordable rates. There will be also announcement by existing partners in terms of higher education systems of their commitment on India-related activities, which is whether it's research, whether it's innovation, whether it's joint projects in research again. There'll be some announcements based out of the existing partnerships. So that's an area of great interest to us because, as you know, we are a human resource endowed country. And for us, the biggest challenge and opportunity is to skill our people and become the, how should I say, the providers of the global workforce in the coming years. When the world is aging, we have a young, bright population. And in that context, Australia's contribution in our human resource development objectives becomes very crucial.
For all the talent, cooperation in education, defense, security, etc., cricket remains, Ambassador, a key bond between the two countries. The way the peoples of both countries are almost worship cricket as a religion, both in Australia and in India. Is there scope for greater cooperation in sports, and could that come up for discussions?
So hopefully there'll be some announcements on that side, and we want to go beyond cricket because again, Australia is a sporting superpower for a country of 27-28 million. If you look at their performance in sports globally, especially track and field and Olympic sports, they perform better than, I would say they perform at the top 3, 4, 5 countries in the world. And we are looking at working with them, cooperating with Australia to upgrade not just, exchange of teams, etc. in cricket and other sports, field hockey, for example, but also beyond that in sports management, sports medicine, sports infrastructure. As you know, we are aspiring to host the 2036 Olympics. Australia is hosting an Olympics in 2032, I think, in Brisbane. Similarly, our Commonwealth Games. So, hopefully that there will be some announcements on our bilateral sports cooperation. It will be called a sports cooperation roadmap. And it will be beyond cricket because, yes, you're right. Cricket is a religion in both our countries, but there's much more we have, now we are aspiring for a greater canvas for Indian sports beyond cricket into other spheres.
Narendra Modi is beyond the Prime Minister. He's also a very popular political leader, not just in India, but for the Indians living abroad. We've seen huge diaspora events when he's visited in the past. I understand there is one happening this time around. What is the excitement that you sense when you meet the diaspora here in Melbourne?
So that's the crowning glory of this visit. We have a big diaspora event here in Melbourne in one of a very iconic stadiums here called the Marble Arena. And as far as the demand for being present there in front of the Prime Minister, that I have not seen anywhere else in various other places that I have served in. There could be huge crowds. I'll not give you the numbers because I want you to see for yourself those numbers, but I can tell you the number of phone calls and messages I get from all over Australia, people wanting to attend that event. And unfortunately, you know, the space is limited, so we can't accommodate, everyone. But I can tell you the enthusiasm is unparalleled, as if it's some kind of a major concert happening, people wanting to see our Prime Minister and see the Prime Minister and listen to him. His, oratory is also, as you know, very well known throughout the world. And I think it will be quite a sight, and I hope you are there to cover it because, that's going to be some sight. And we are expecting that the Honourable Prime Minister of Australia will be also joining that event. The last time in Sydney when a similar event had happened, Prime Minister Albanese had referred to Prime Minister Modi as the boss. And people didn't understand what he meant by the boss because if you know the American rock star, Bruce Springsteen, so his nickname is Boss. So basically Prime Minister Albanese was calling Prime Minister
a rock star really.
Yeah, that's why he referred
So, well, it looks like it's going to be an interesting visit. We'll have to see what transpires over the next 3 days. Ambassador Singh, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
So, there are a lot of expectations from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Australia, his third visit as Prime Minister, and over the next 3 days. The strategic part of it, the substantive part of it shall be transparent. Also, the Prime Minister shall be interacting with the diaspora. With cameraman Mohit Joshi, this is Amrit Pal Singh for DD India in Melbourne.
You're watching DD India Newshour. Still to come on the show. Denmark Prime Minister vows to defend Greenland after Trump revives push for US control at the NATO summit in Ankara. Russia fires ballistic missiles at Kiev, exploiting Ukraine's critical shortage of US-made air defense interceptors.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi shall be arriving here in Melbourne on Wednesday for a 3-day visit. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese shall be focusing on upgrading defence cooperation. Sports diplomacy will be an integral part.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be engaging with Indian diaspora. For each and every update of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Australia, keep watching DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Women and Child Development Minister Annapurna Devi arrived at the BRICS Women Ministerial meeting at the historic Bolgatti Palace in Kochi. Minister of State Savitri Thakur and Women and Child Development Secretary Anil Malik also attended. The BRICS Women Ministerial meeting is underway, bringing together ministers from BRICS nations to strengthen cooperation on women's empowerment and inclusive development. Union Minister Annapurna Devi is leading the high-level ministerial session and will deliver the opening remarks and welcome address. The meeting will also witness the adoption of a joint statement reaffirming the BRICS commitment to gender equality, women leadership and inclusive growth. The participating ministers will later tour a special exhibition on the palace lawns showcasing innovative initiatives and best practices in women-led development. Staying in India's south, rescue operations continue in Kerala's Wayanad following the landslide at the Kozhikode-Wayanad Twin Tunnel project site, as the centre has assured full support to the state government. Search and rescue operations resumed to trace the 5 missing labourers at the landslide-hit tunnel project near Meenakshi Bridge in Wayanad, despite intermittent rain and the threat of fresh mudslides. Meanwhile, Home Minister Amit Shah spoke to Kerala's Chief Minister V.D. Satishan, reviewed the situation and assured full assistance from the centre, urging a high-level probe into the incident. The Chief Minister informed him that the Kerala Cabinet has already approved a high-level inquiry on the matter. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Kuwait on Tuesday on the third leg of his six-nation visit. In a post on social media, Dr. Jaishankar thanked Kuwait's Deputy Foreign Minister Hamad Suleiman Mashan al-Mashan for the warm welcome on his arrival and said that he is looking forward to engagements during his visit to the Gulf country. Jaishankar's visit to Kuwait is part of his multi-nation tour covering Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, the United States and Belgium. Earlier, Dr. S. Jaishankar visited Bahrain, where he reaffirmed India's commitment to further deepening the long-standing partnership with the Gulf nation. During his two-day visit, Dr. Jaishankar called on Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa and Deputy Prime Minister Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa. Dr. Jaishankar held bilateral talks with his counterpart, Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani. The two ministers exchanged views on regional and international developments of mutual interest. The External Affairs Minister congratulated Bahrain on its role as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council for 2026 to 2027. And next, updates from West Asia. US President Donald Trump on Wednesday said that the ceasefire with Iran was over, calling Tehran sick after Washington launched strikes on the Islamic Republic. Iran said it targeted US bases in the Gulf. Trump said as far as he was concerned, it was over. Trump said this at a NATO summit in Ankara.
I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Wednesday said that the latest US strikes on Iran were, quote, absolutely necessary. He was speaking upon his arrival at the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey.
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary because when you have a ceasefire and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire, we see what happened yesterday with ships being attacked. I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts.
On to other updates coming from this summit in Ankara. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has firmly rejected US President Donald Trump's remarks on Greenland, saying that the Arctic territory is not for sale and will remain part of the Kingdom of Denmark.
The US position is unfortunately very clear on this topic, and our position is as clear as it has been all through. Greenland is of course not for sale. We hope that all, including all allies, will respect the Greenlandic people's right for self-determination. And we are a sovereign state, and we need everybody to respect our territorial integrity and our sovereignty.
The US military has launched a series of strikes against Iran in response to attacks on 3 commercial vessels that were transiting the Strait of Hormuz. The US Central Command said on Tuesday that it had struck over 80 targets during its latest strikes on Iran, including Iranian air defense systems, coastal radar sites and anti-ship missile capabilities. Iran's top joint military command said that Iranian armed forces would deliver a crushing response and warned that Tehran would not allow US interference in the management of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran also confirmed that a member of the Revolutionary Guard's Navy was killed in the recent US strikes. Iran's deputy foreign minister called the US attacks a violation of the US-Iran memorandum signed last month. Kazem Garibabadi, Iran's deputy foreign minister, insisted that Iran would take decisive actions to safeguard its national interests and security. Hours after the 3 tankers were struck by projectiles, the United States revoked a license that authorized the sale of Iranian oil as part of the interim deal to end the fighting between the US and Iran. Iran's foreign ministry condemned the US Treasury move to revoke the temporary suspension of sanctions on Iranian oil sales. The ministry said that the decision breached the memorandum, holding Washington responsible for the consequences. The revoked waiver listed on the Treasury Department's website said that the move was effective immediately. It also said any production, delivery or sale of Iranian oil must be wound down by July 17th. The waiver had originally allowed sales until August 21st. And on to the other war raging in Europe. Ukraine said on Wednesday that Russia fired ballistic missiles at Kiev overnight. The new attack comes with the NATO summit underway in Ankara, where US President Donald Trump is due to hold talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Meanwhile, Ukraine's overnight drone attacks on Russia killed 1 person and damaged numerous industrial sites and 2 empty oil tankers, local authorities said on Wednesday. Kiev also said that its drones hit 9 Russian Shadow Fleet tankers in the Sea of Azov. A total of 19 tankers had been hit so far. You're with us on DD India Newshour, still to come on the show. Netflix, Disney and YouTube are interested for the US broadcast rights of the next 2 FIFA World Cups in a deal that could reach $2 billion. All that and more on the other side.
This week on Defence Dynamics, India is fast-tracking its next-generation defence shield with new indigenous acquisition, strengthening air defence, counter-drone capabilities and battlefield surveillance. In geopolitics, India and Japan are entering a new strategic phase, transforming their partnership into a pillar of Indo-Pacific security through defence co-development and maritime cooperation. And DRDO's indigenous MP-80GM is set to give Indian infantry a powerful new fire and forget tank killer, boosting battlefield lethality and defence self-reliance. All this and much more this Wednesday at 8 PM IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to some business news now. Contrary to many industrial sectors, the defence industry has been growing steadily in recent years in Germany, and now a multi-billion-dollar from Canada is boosting a German company's prospects. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin on the story. Hi Lars, thank you for being with us. What can you tell us about this latest deal?
The company at the heart of the deal is TKMS, that is a subsidiary of industrial giant ThyssenKrupp that has been recently spun off. Canada awarded them a contract now to build 12 submarines. It's a huge win for TKMS over South Korean conglomerate Hanwha, which was the only other competitor for the deal. And TKMS, or I should probably say Germany, did a lot to win this deal indeed. Chancellor Friedrich Merz, as well as the economics minister and the defense minister, have all been active in this campaign, talking to their respective partners in the Canadian government. So much so that TKMS CEO Oliver Burkhardt expressly thanked those political leaders for their support. However, one should know that despite the support from the political field, the TKMS offer obviously succeeded due to its own strength. The company offered its Type 212 CD submarine that is a very impressive, very modern ship, very sleek. It can stay underwater for weeks on end, and it's been developed jointly with Norway and is also being acquired by the German and Norwegian navies. And now, to put a number on the whole story, the submarine deal, including maintenance and operations over the coming decades, is rumored to be worth around 60 billion euros. And that makes it a massive deal for the German company. They're literally seeing their order book swell by a full 50%.
Okay, Lars, so with a deal that big, how quickly will those submarines be built and delivered?
That's another thing that actually made the deal attractive to the Canadian government. The deal calls for the first submarine to be delivered in 2033. But since, as I pointed out, the German and the Norwegian Navy are also customers and are also buying the same type submarine, there are already negotiations on whether those two countries would be willing to defer receipt of some of their own ships so that Canada can receive its first submarine sooner. Precise details here are not known yet, neither is the exact price for a submarine. But all this pales in comparison to the big picture, as the German government said that, quote, if this massive cooperation succeeds, it will bind Canada to us for decades. So we see this is not about just one deal. This is really about strengthening alliances.
Indeed, strengthening alliances. Thank you very much, Lars Holter there, reporting from DW in Berlin. And next, all the updates from the ongoing FIFA World Cup 2026. Defending champions Argentina are through to the FIFA World Cup quarterfinals after producing a stunning late comeback with Lionel Messi once again at the heart of the victory. Argentina fought back from 2 goals down to defeat Egypt 3-2 in a dramatic round of 16 clash in Atlanta. After trailing 2-0 with just over 10 minutes remaining, Christian Romero pulled one back before Lionel Messi scored the equalizer. Enzo Fernandez then completed the remarkable comeback in stoppage time to send the defending champions into the quarterfinals. Messi also missed a first-half penalty but finished the match with his tournament-leading 8th goal. Switzerland have booked their place in the FIFA World Cup quarterfinals after edging Colombia in a dramatic penalty shootout and will now face defending champions Argentina. After a goalless draw through extra time, Switzerland defeated Colombia 4-3 on penalties in Vancouver to reach the World Cup quarterfinals for the first time since 1954. Goalkeeper Gregor Kobel made the decisive save before Ruben Vargas converted the winning spot kick, setting up a last-8 clash with Lionel Messi's Argentina. And we have with us our sports correspondent Narayan Singh dissecting these wins and losses for now. Narayan, although Argentina won, Egypt gave them a hard time for this victory. Why did Argentina have to struggle so much for almost 3/4 of the game?
Tanu, if you take a look, this match, we saw the historic comeback by the Argentina. After just they were considered 2 goals, and after 79 minutes they made a bounce back in the match. But as you asked, how Argentina considered 2 goals against a team like Egypt, because we know that a big difference in the quality of the football between the two nations. Argentina is a powerhouse and they are the defending champions. But if you take a look, the kind of defense the Egypt team has made, it was almost, we can say, very tough to crack the Egypt defense. But what the thing that mattered in the match is that when Argentina is on the attack on to the goalpost of the Egypt team, then there was some defensive lapses in the Argentine side. If you take a look, they lost their defensive shape, and Egypt team found those spaces in their defense, and they took advantage of that thing and they scored goal. And if you take a look, their positional intelligence is, we talk about football, is all about positioning yourself. The player knows how to position himself at the right places, then definitely the team gets advantage of it. Here also we saw in the 3 quarters of this game, there is a lack of the positional intelligence from this Argentine team. So I think it is because of the Argentina's attacking style of football and the quality of the football. Because of that, they came back in the match. And if you talk about their defensive lapses, it's a big question for them, because if you take a look, when they will go ahead in the tournament, when they will play the quarterfinals against Switzerland, if they progresses further, they may face the teams like England or Norway, and further ahead teams like France, then these defensive lapses will not work for them. They should work on it. And in addition to that, they can bring players like Nico Paz, who is very fast on the ball, and apart from that, Palacios, they also didn't bought him in the match. So these are the factors I think that are going against this Argentina team. And in the previous match against Cape Verde, we saw that was also a historic scare for the Argentina team. They lost by a small, they escaped from that match by a small margin. margin. So they need to work on their defense. If a team is defensively strong, I think it is getting difficult for this Argentina team to crack their defense. And here, I think the Messi is also overloaded. Actually, if you take a look, he missed a penalty, but the kind of performance the Argentine team needed from him, he did exactly that. After scoring the first goal in the 79th minute by the Romario, again he gave a pass to Lautaro Martinez, but Martinez didn't able to convert that goal. He just flicked the ball and the ball was just stopped by the Egypt goalkeeper.
Okay.
When then after few minutes only, he took the responsibility and scored the second goal himself. And we know that finally what happened in the injury time, it was Edinson Fernandez took a pass and scored the winning goal. And also we should praise to this Egypt team because the kind of performance they did in the
they gave a hard time to the defending champions. Yes. So Narayan, the FIFA World Cup is down to its final 8 teams. Which games are going to be the crucial blockbuster ones that we should look out for?
As you know, Tanvi, the quarterfinal lineup is there and the first match will be Morocco versus France. I think it will be the biggest match of this quarterfinal lineup because we know that Morocco is a team, emerging team, one is the best emerging team in the world. The kind of performance they have done in the previous World Cup also, they were in the semi-finals where they lost to France in the semi-finals in the last edition. And this time around they are meeting in the quarterfinals. So it will be a test of strength of this Morocco team because they have the extraordinary players, very young players. Like if you take a look at their midfield, Ayoub Badouni is there, one of the best midfielders right now, and soon we will see one of the best clubs in the world, Saibari, who is being chased by the Bayern Munich, one of the best club in the European football. And they have player like Al Khanous who are just 18 and 20 years old. And if you take a look at their previous matches against a team like Brazil, they just we can say that outplayed the veterans of the Brazilian midfielders like Casemiro and Grumares. So a wonderful team. And France, we know that league of extraordinary gentlemen. They have one of the best attack in the tournament. They have Kylian Mbappe, one of the we can say that contender for the Golden Boot. They have Michael Olise, who's the most number of, we can say that, assists in this World Cup. They have more and more players in the attack and the defense. Aurelien Tchouameni is there, the Real Madrid player, one of the best. Robio is there, one of the best midfielder in the world. So France is the most balanced teams in the world, and I think the contest between France and Morocco will be the key, and the contest between Norway and England will one of the tricky quarterfinal match.
Tricky encounters.
Because one side there will be Erling Haaland and one side Harry Kane will be there.
Indeed, we will look out for those games and come back to you, Narayan, for this analysis. Thank you very much for joining us at the moment, Narayan Singh there. All right, Netflix, Disney and YouTube are competing with Fox for the US broadcasting rights to the 2030 and 2034 FIFA World Cups in a deal worth up to $2 billion. As the FIFA World Cup captures massive global audiences, media companies are preparing to pay billions for the rights to the next 2 men's tournaments, with bids expected between $1.5 billion and $2 billion for each tournament. FIFA has told broadcasters that English and Spanish language US rights will likely be sold together. Unlike previous tournaments, formal talks with potential media partners are expected to begin within the next 3 months. And as we come to the close of this edition of DD India Newshour, let's take you to Switzerland, where the spirit of the Jagannath Rath Yatra is travelling far beyond India this week. Hundreds of devotees gathered in Zurich to celebrate one of Hinduism's most revered festivals. Our correspondent Nidhi reports from Switzerland.
The Jagannath Rath Yatra in Puri, Orissa is one of the biggest Indian celebrations that happens each year. Over 1 million people join the celebrations in the coastal town. And now this is being celebrated in San Francisco to Tokyo, from Oslo to Durban, and now in Zurich, Switzerland since 1978. I would have never imagined that on a normal weekend, I would see crowds of devotees gathering and pulling the chariot of Lord Jagannath and chanting the holy name and dancing.
I have been part of Rath Yatra since, well, around 30 years, I would say, long time. And it has become like a tradition here in Zurich It's always the same route along Lake of Zurich, starting from China Garden and ending at Bürkliplatz. And after the procession, which takes around 3 hours, then there will be a festival, an Indian festival, you can say, at the Bürkliplatz with a stage, with a short lecture about Rath Yatra, an explanation, and then some kirtan, singing, and also some dancing usually.
I am here because I like this festival. I like the temple, Krishna temple, and I like Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra.
I was just passing by with my friend, and then we saw this music, and it gave such nice vibe.
Locals were drawn to the procession as volunteers distributed prasad and drinks. The procession ended outside the Swiss National Bank building with an aarti and address by the ambassador of India to Switzerland.
The first Rath Yatra, the first chariot. So Jagannath came about from the word Jagannath. And when the early Europeans saw this huge procession of magnificent wooden chariots in the city of Puri, they were very amazed. And they saw it as an unstoppable force. And that's how the word Jagannath came into being in the English lexicon.
ISKCON temple in Zurich has been doing it all through the work of their volunteers and devotees. It's an extraordinary event because it brings about people of all faiths together in celebration of Lord Jagannath.
The influence of Indian spirituality and wisdom were felt on the banks of Lake Zurich as Swiss people joined in mantra music and dancing. This is Nidhi reporting for DD India from Zurich, Switzerland.
With those chants, we wind up this edition of DD India Newshour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on your fingertips. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.